Hello there, people. Today I'm going to go through why I think Orlando Brown, the left tackle out of Oklahoma, should be the top pick in the 2018 NFL Draft. Now, if you look at the rest of my channel, I've gone through my big board. Orlando Brown has been mocked to maybe be in the mid-first round. He was maybe like a top 8 pick before he had a historically bad NFL combine. So, yes, the combine was terrible. I'll show you. So I'm sharing my screen right now, I believe. This is my first time actually sharing the screen, mucking around with all this stuff. So hopefully it works out alright. But what we have here is a site called Mock Draftable, and it shows off really cool charts like this to show how well the player performed at the NFL Combine compared to previous players, and it goes back to 1999, I believe. And here's like a pro comparison. So in terms of like their measurables and their combine results. So okay, look how bad he did. 40-yard dash, historically bad. Vertical jump, historically bad. However, what's interesting is that can I bring me? I need to be, there we go. You need to see my face. What's interesting about Brown is that I believe because he had a historically bad bench press, even though the dude's 340 pounds, right? I think it was 14 reps, and that's bad. That's shocking. But apparently he had some breathing issues, so that impacted both his bench press, and then it impacted because he did such a bad bench press, it affected his confidence for the rest of the combine, which is something that's a bit, I guess you got to question his competitiveness, and maybe he's a little bit rattled, maybe not that mentally mature. But then at his pro day, he lifted 18. He did 18 reps on the bench press. So I've had a look, and that's like around the 15th. That was the 15th best bench press mark for offensive tackles in this draft. So still not quite elite, but he's got some strength to him. So you can't just write him off as being a weak player. And I'll get into why I think that the bench press isn't that important for an offensive tackle later. Just because I think they're dealing with edge players more. Edge players are lighter than, say, defensive tackles, so they don't have to deal with the strong men in the NFL as much. So yeah, and with the vertical jump, he had an historically bad vert of not even 20 inches. However, at his pro day, he did 25 inches on a vert jump, which shows a fair bit of explosiveness. So for a dude he's literally, well, it depends what his listed weight is. It says 345 here. I mean, he's been up at 360, I think, as well. But for a guy who's at least 20 pounds heavier than everyone else, a vertical jump at that, like that, is great. So yeah, he's not overly explosive, which means that I think he won't be that effective in the run game from day one. However, look at this 3-cone. That's in the 44th percentile for offensive tackles since 1999, right? For a dude his size, like I said, he's way bigger than everyone else in the draft. That 3-cone indicates that the dude can move. And if you look at his footwork, right? Like, let's look at some of this. I mean, look at this. Look at the size of, like, that's scary.
All of my youngest and savages running your trap, hit you up with them packages. Drop you for bricks, but net you for pounds. Fuck all that talking, they laying you down.
So he's his size. He's semi-nimble. You don't really need a great 40-yard dash as an offensive tackle. I mean, you got to Trent Williams. Look at this. How the hell do you get around this bloke? Keeping Mayfield all that time. Mayfield had a Heisman Trophy winning season, but who was protecting his blind side? Orlando Brown, man. Orlando Brown. So yeah, just back to his combine. I mean, elite wingspan means that guys can't get around him that easily, and obviously his sheer size. So his nimbleness means that people can't get through him. His weight and height means that he can get down low and get good leverage against bull rushes. So if you can't speed rush, if you can't power rush, and if he can't do a spin move because his hands are so long, he can keep guys away from him, then you're going to have problems getting around this guy. So, yeah, I mean, here's his combine highlights. I mean, you could say that they're lowlights, really. Yeah, my internet's slow. But I want to watch his 3 count.
He's a massive human being, just like his dad. You're talking 6'8", 345 pounds. 345 is down to 380.
That's not his peak conditioning, I think. He's got some things going on here with, like...
6'6". That's a historically bad time, and you're going to be simulcast with him a bunch this week.
So, where's
he said that's my thing.
Yeah, so I don't think speed, like, sure, advancing to the next level is something
how high he is there.
A guy during the season got blunt. Titans would be efficiently running their offense. In that game, here's Orlando Brown.
Shift his feet for such a massive...
That's the worst rabbit for you to draw. Worst rabbit to draw.
I don't care about you guys. Look at this. Look at the boy move. Anyways, so yeah. What else can I say? I mean, the dude was a 2-time Big 12 Offensive Lineman of the Year for the last 2 years. What's weird is that I can't find his stats anywhere. But the start of this highlight video, it says that he had 0 sacks allowed, 98.2% pass block rate. Guys, if you've got a guy who's protecting the quarterback at that rate, you know, that dude will eventually be on, like, you know, you look at Nate Solder. Nate Solder has kind of similar measurables to Orlando Brown. Solder just got the biggest contract in offensive lineman history. So if you want to get a really good offensive tackle for cheap for the next 4 years, you've got to draft this guy. And I've got him as number 1 because when you think about the most valuable player on offense, you might think quarterback. Okay, yeah. But, like, how is the quarterback given enough time to even throw the ball? You've got to have good linemen. And so Orlando Brown, if you have a good left tackle, then not only does it give the quarterback time to throw, it gives the receivers enough time to get separation. And having a good... Like, Brown he plays fiercely. Like, you look at his scouting report. A nasty finisher who's looking to intimidate. So if you've got a guy who's his size and still has that dog in him, like that, and I think he's gonna get better and better with NFL conditioning. Like, I think the dude's just gonna be straight out nasty. I mean, what are his weaknesses? Has leverage issues due to high center of gravity. Okay, but you don't need, like, enough as a left tackle. You don't need that much leverage because you're not having as many power rushes. You're having more speed rushes on the edge, right? So, not a natural knee bender. I mean, like, you see him moving around in the combine, like... Okay, but still, like, how are guys going to be able to get around him if he can move at all? Look at the size of the bloke, you know? What else? I mean, you've got all these weaknesses, but the dude didn't allow any sacks last season, I think. Bro, this is... But look at this. I look it up. No stats, right? What the hell is going on here? No stats. You know, what the heck, bro? It's like some conspiracy. They're trying to wipe it from the records or something. Or maybe they don't keep stats on offensive linemen. No statistics available. Maybe his college will keep some stats. Okay, so he's got all these... Okay, offensive lineman of the year. I mean, he's got a great resume, man. He's pretty durable playing that many games. Majoring in human relations. Okay, that's interesting. So he's probably a good locker room guy. I mean, he's been very... He protected Baker Mayfield. He won the Heisman. Who had like over 40 touchdowns 40 touchdowns and like only like 7 picks last season. So you've got to, and like Orlando Brown led probably the best offensive line in college football last season. So yeah, I mean, so when you're talking about left tackles, I think they're the most valuable position on the offense. I mean, it's much harder to find a guy who is, 6'8" and over 300 pounds who can actually move than it is a guy who's maybe my size, 6'2" and up, who can throw a football, right? There's just not as many dudes that size who can move. And you watch Brown's highlights, like, he's pretty technically proficient, right? See? You can't get... Look, the guy's just hopeless. And he weighed 450 pounds going to high school, so he's got a work ethic to get that off, He can move to the next level as well. So all these worries about his combine results, I think they're just completely overblown, because he's got the shiftiness that you need. And he's got good awareness to see like what's going on inside as well. So not only are his measurables great, but his fundamentals are awesome as well. I mean, who's more valuable than him in the whole draft, right? So you've got guys like Sam. I don't even want to talk about Sam Darnold. The dude makes questionable decisions. He had a 2-to-1 touchdown to turnover ratio last season, and that's not including when he was stripped, right? I don't think he's got good pocket composure. He turns the ball over too much. I don't think he's going to be as accurate as people think he'll be because of his mechanics. I've got the dude in the 4th round. So when you talk about the Browns need, they finally need to deal with the quarterback situation. Well, they need to give guys chances. What about Cody Kessler? Solid pocket passer. I think his PFF grade was like 74 or something. Like, he has some concussion and injury issues, and he's been traded anyway, so it's another Browns like wasted pick. DeShon Kyzir sent to the Packers. I don't know I forget what they received in that, but yeah. Bringing in Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor is your starting quarterback now. They're in win now mode. So why are you going to use the top pick on a quarterback? So this talks about Darnold going first, and then with the 4th pick. I mean, I reckon with the 4th pick, the Browns, if Derwin James and Mike McGlinchey are gone, I think, because I'm all about just take the best player available. Free agency should be how you deal with team needs, right? But yeah. So I've got Derwin James, Mike McGlinchey, and then Minkah Fitzpatrick. If Minkah Fitzpatrick is there, that dude's my 4th most valuable player in this draft. They've got to take those guys. I wouldn't take... The only quarterback I've got in my 1st round is Mason Rudolph at like 28. And I might do another video on Mason Rudolph, why I think he's the best quarterback. But I think, Joe Thomas is gone. The tackle positions, I think they've got Sean Coleman, Zach Banner, although I think they traded one of Sean Coleman and Zach Banner, who they've used high picks on. I recall Banner is actually alright. I think he had like a 66 PFF grade. But Joe Thomas is gone, so they need to reinforce their tackle positions. They've got a really good guard and center combos. Batonio, the other guys, I forget their names. So, yeah, I think the Browns are on the verge of making the playoffs if they make the right moves here. But if they take a quarterback, I'm going to be pissed. Orlando Brown's the man. I mean, you don't see a guy this size come along this often and just have flat out awesome production. And, and people think that he'll go in the mid-1st round. I think that's all I have to say about him. If I think of something else, I might add it into the video later. But yeah, that's all I've got. I wonder if I hope I've convinced you. Oh, also with the whole quarterback thing, Nick Foles, Case Keenum, and Blake Bortles all made it to they're the top 3 of the top 4 teams who made last season. Like Brady's obviously an all-time legend, was MVP, but the other three guys, quarterbacks, were middle of the road quarterbacks, and their team still got to that level, right? And you've got to think about like how did those teams get? Okay, the Patriots have consistently had one of the best offensive lines, right? The Eagles had the best offensive line. Even with Jason Peters down, they probably still had the best offensive line in the whole damn league. Kelsey, Brandon Brooks, and Lane Johnson, that right side of the line, one of the best ever, I would say. Jaguars, yeah, I mean, Jaguars had Cam Robinson at left tackle, and I think he did okay. I rely a bit on PFF. So if you're a PFF hater, that might be a problem. But PFF graded Cam Robinson as like a 35 or something, which is terrible. But they had Brandon Linder at center, who was one of the better centers. I think they had a fairly good right tackle. Yeah, but also I should mention I actually value safeties and cornerbacks over offensive linemen. But I just don't think any safeties or offensive linemen are quite on par with Orlando Brown. But that's why I've got Derwin James, a strong safety at number 2. And I've got Fitzpatrick at number 4. Right? So yeah, but you think about so the Jaguars had a legendary defense which had probably the best secondary in the whole league, and that's why they got there. And also, improved offensive line play, and I think Andrew Norwell coming to the Jaguars, I think the Jaguars will make the AFC, I think. Is it AFC or NFC? I get confused. I think they'll make the conference finals. I'm used to the NBA sort of talk with this sort of thing. Who was the other team that I mentioned? Eagles, Pats, Jaguars. Who was the other? Was it the Titans? The Titans have the best young tackle duo in the league in Jack Conklin and Taylor Lewan. So that's the reason why they have emerged. Who was in the Steelers have had a great offensive line. Green Bay's, I think one of the big reasons why Green Bay's didn't perform very well last season is because their offensive line is declining. Like Brian Beluga isn't the man anymore. Bakhtiari is probably one of the best left tackles, but outside of him, I don't know if they're that strong. So if I was an NBA manager, I would be loading up on offensive linemen, and that's what the Pats have been doing. They had Solder, but then they also had Marcus Cannon. Then they had Cameron Fleming, who's a really underrated young tackle who went to the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys could make the Super Bowl next season. I think they need to improve their secondary a bit, but that offensive line is mean, and if they upgraded the left guard spot, they could have one of the better offensive lines of all time. All these teams, I think Orlando Brown can contribute to 1 or 2 wins by himself. Just because if he's giving the quarterback all the time he needs from that left tackle spot, then that's super valuable. And also, if the dude's 340, 360 pounds, he's literally double the weight of some cornerbacks. And he's got the wingspan he can probably block 2 guys at once. Right? And that is valuable. He can lock down the whole left side of the line. He can help out the guards as well as protecting the blind side. You look at it historically, left tackles coming in contributes to wins. Well, great offensive lineman contributes to wins. Unfortunately, in the last few years, drafting an offensive lineman in the top 5 hasn't been overly successful. So Brandon Scherf has been very successful, and the Redskins have been middle of the field overall as a team. I think they've been let down by not the best, below average secondary. Jake Fisher came in for the Chiefs as left tackle and bolstered the position, and he'll probably be the franchise tackle for Jake Matthews with the Falcons. Was awesome leading the Falcons to the Super Bowl. I think he was a bit injury prone last season. And also Ryan Schrader on the opposite side, awesome. So historically, drafting a left tackle or drafting an elite tackle means that so there was Greg Robinson was a bit of a failure. I wonder why that was. I'll just look up his combine. Greg Robinson. Okay, super strong. Yeah. See, his 3-cone was middle of the road, even though he was like, okay, similar size to Orlando Brown. Alright, people are going to say that Greg Robinson was a better prospect than Orlando Brown is, but pretty crap height, middle of the road 3-cone. But I think Greg Robinson's feel for the game just isn't the same as Brown, so that's a big difference, I believe. Why does Greg Robinson suck? Yeah, see, he could have gained the leverage that the defender wouldn't have gone anywhere near him, but instead he just blocked him mindlessly. So yeah, I mean, he can move around a bit. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll have to do some more analysis of why Greg Robinson fouled, because he kind of matches up to what Orlando Brown is, except Orlando Brown's got 3 inches on him and therefore can get way more power behind himself when he gets leverage. What else? Yeah, so I think I've covered what I wanted to say. Let's look at, I'll just look at the 2014 NFL draft. We'll just look at previous picks that have been high. Greg Robinson, yeah, not so good. Jake Matthews was great. Taylor Lewan. So all those teams have all been, Zach Martin, offensive line, they've all been quite good ever since they drafted those players. I mean, obviously they missed on Greg Robinson. I just don't think his fundamentals are the same as Orlando Brown. I mean, you look at Orlando Brown. Let's just watch more highlights just to soak it up, man. Just remember, he protected the Heisman winning quarterback. And a quarterback does not do that on his own. So he can create holes. So while he's not very explosive, he knows what to do and how to use his bulk. I mean, he's the son of a legendary lineman, so he would have learned. He knows a lot about the fundamentals. He would have had to go up against his old man back home, practice. You know. I mean, most valuable guy in the draft. And if you're going on value rather than, just sort of on the face of it talent, then, that's how you should be drafting. Look at that. And he's not lunging for guys. See how he sort of just, okay, so that's a run play. He can move guys in the run, and he's patient, right? He's not lunging. He's not going straight for the guy. He's just letting it come to him, right? Uses his hands. No one can do anything against him, man. Even though the bench press wasn't elite, he look at that. Oh, best damn player in the draft, I'm telling you. Go Mayfield, go. Look at that. Can't speed rush him. Oh my god! Flat pushing guys in their ass. And he can move, he can do pull blocks and things like that. Sealing off the edge. So, you look at a mock draft. So let's assume that the status quo right now is the Ravens taking Brown. I mean, that would make sense. I mean, people go into the whole, his dad played for this team, so they'll love to take him. I'm not sure. I mean, if I was a team, I think you just take the best player available regardless, right? Regardless of team needs as well. Like I said, they should deal with that in free agency. So let's say, okay, the Browns need a left tackle. The Giants don't need a left tackle after signing Solder, but they'd still be bolstered. They probably need a right tackle. The Jets have one of the worst offensive lines in the league. They've spent all this money on all these guys, but they have one of the worst offensive lines in the league. Broncos are okay at left tackle. Anyway, all these teams need Brown. All of them. So if your team takes Orlando Brown, your offense will probably go up maybe 5 or 6 rankings just like that. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let's just watch some more. I'm not sure about the copyright on this thing. Dub highlights, thanks man. Whoever's broadcasting all this stuff is great. See, Mayfield can. See, look, you can't spin on him because his wingspan is so massive. I mean, if a quarterback knows that he's not going to get hit from his blind side, how awesome is that? 1, 2, okay. Yeah, so the inside wasn't great there. But look how much time the quarterback has. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, you need, obviously Mayfield's really good in the pocket with his pocket presence and moving around, but 1, 2, 3, 4. See, the guy didn't even budge against Brown. Look. If you want a guy to hold down the left side of your offensive line, which therefore improves your offense dramatically, take this guy. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.